Well, what I'm going to do today is go searching for squirrel's nest. There's folklore, old wives' tales about the positions of the squirrel's nest in the tree that will predict the severity of the winter. So I just wanted to go and make my predictions. So we've gone out, we're in Ohio, in Greene and Montgomery County, and the bad winter signs are for when it's high in the tree, the nest is high in the tree, and or closer to the main trunk. So when I go out and kind of scan around and look for the nest, that's what I'm looking for. Now, a milder winter would be lower down in the tree and located on outer breezy branches, such as the squirrel's not expecting there to be much wind and snow. Now, squirrel nests are called dreys, and they're made out of leaves, little sticks, if they can find fur, things like that, soft materials that are on the ground, much like a bird would do. That's what they use. And it is something for them to live in. They don't really hibernate for the winter, but they sometimes kind of go into a zombie state for short periods of time. But here you see one of the dreys right in the kind of mid-trunk level up there. It's fairly high up, but right next to the trunk. So I think that means a bad winter, maybe medium bad, because it is close to the trunk, but not very high up. Now, they do live in holes and hollow trees, things like that. But since that's fewer and far between, most of the time they do build some kind of a nest in the tree for them to live in and for them to have their babies in. Now you can see that little bundle. I don't know if you can distinctly see the one in the fork of the tree there at the trunk, but then there's one on that outer limb. But that looks pretty secure, but a squirrel and a couple, 3 babies could probably fit in there real easily. Now, they do like trees that have nuts, berries, that type of thing. There was a lot here in the park with acorns. And, of course, in the distance, there were probably walnut trees, because we see a lot of them planting walnuts, and then later you have quickly grown up a little walnut tree. I've had quite a few of those in the yard. But anyway, when we look up here, there's a tiny one up there kind of in the crook of that tree. And this one very, very high up. But it's in the softer branches. So that might make me think that it's not going to be a very bad winter, because even though it's high up, it's in the softer branches. Now this one kind of has one that is on an outer branch away from the main trunk, but at a fairly sturdy piece of trunk. So I don't know, that one could go either way. As you can see, they're little balls. There may be in some instances, like a foot circle. And what I read was that they have entrances, like a front entrance and a back entrance. So if something would try to climb the tree and get in there, it could run out the back end to get away. And other animals like a possum, raccoons, even cats can climb the tree and have been known to snatch the babies and things like that. So that's the reason they say that some go higher, because most of those animals don't go up too high. But in this network of strong trunks, I would expect to see a lot of the nests, but not sure why they're not. But we saw too many different varieties for there to be any kind of a clear picture. As sure as I would think, as we drove around down the neighborhood streets, that we were seeing ones that were mainly on the main trunks, then I would see one out on little wispy trunk edges. And I would think, well, doesn't that mean it's going to be a nice, soft winter? Less severe than normal? Look at this one. It's kind of in a trunk of a tree, but in not very substantial branches. So would the old folklore say that it is not going to be a bad winter? Now, most of the time, the squirrels put their nest in deciduous trees, but they can do an evergreen. They're just not as visible when it's buried in an evergreen tree. But you can see that one blowing around in a not real substantial trunk. So that one, I would say, perhaps mild winter. But who knows? Now, these trees near the highway had very high up nest right in the crotch of a fork of the tree. Pretty big nest. That, I would say, bad winter, bad winter. This one has a small one up high out on the outer branches. Not a severe winter. That one lower down looks like a more substantial. This one is in more wispy branches. So is that an indication of not a very bad winter, a more moderate one? It's really, really hard to make a judgment. That one near the trunk and another one right near it on a wispy trunk going out to the other side, a branch going out to the other side. You really can't tell. And sometimes the same group of squirrels, I've read, put different dreys in the same tree. That's basically so they have a place to run to if something gets up into one of their dreys. They can run for the protection of the other. Or it could be an extended family where all the relatives came to live together. This one's what I would call in a not real sturdy area of the trunk, so maybe that means a moderate winter. It's really hard to make a judgment. Now here's one near some heavy trunks, the other up in the wispy edges. What do you think? It's fun to go look for these. I had all along thought I was seeing just bundles of leaves caught in the tree trunk, but I learned that they are squirrels' nests. It's pretty to look at them. Some of the trees seem to carry more on those outer branches, and then some, like this one, are caught near the trunk. That would indicate a bad winter. I used to make predictions with a woolly worm, but I really haven't seen a woolly worm in a couple of years. So I don't know if I'm just not in an area where woolly worms are, but we just have to go by the squirrel's nest. Look at these. They're on real sturdy trunks. At least they're not out in the wispy branch ends. Look at this one, in a wispy branch end. Very high up to keep it away from predators too, but in a more wispy edge. Mild winter? Who knows? Now these, way up there in the, I would say, more sturdy branches, not wispy branches. But I do like the way that they seem to be anchored in tightly, possibly predicting a hard winter. Of course, this isn't scientific, didn't say it was, but it's fun to speculate where it may or may not be for the winter times. Now, these both look very sturdy in the fork of a substantial trunk of the tree. So we would think these would be meant for the hard winter. He's kind of medium. Who knows? Look at those. Yep, he's in a sturdy trunk. He says hard winter. It's very hard to say. But it's fun to look, and it was fun to take a drive. You ought to try it. It's really nice. Now, on our drive, we did see lots of sturdy tree trunks that we thought there would be thousands of squirrel nests, but then there weren't. So it's kind of hard to tell what you're going to find, but it's fun to go looking. See what it looks like in your area. In our area, we have the eastern gray squirrel, so that's the one that I would find. Look at that nice tidy one there in the fork of that tree. It was fun. But now we did have a bad omen. It seems that it would be a harsh winter for the most. Santa is worried to death. Look how thin he has grown. This was a Halloween decoration that was a skeleton. They've put a Santa suit on it. I think it's hilarious. But I'll see you next video, and let's hope we don't have too bad of a winter. I want some pretty snow, but not ice.